The BBC are finally giving some proper coverage to Starmer's purge of the left, probably because he's finished it. John McDonnell was on Newsnight this week to discuss the problem.
I think what he's allowed to happen is a right-wing faction become drunk with power and use devices within the party almost on a search and destroy of the left. They seem to be more interested in destroying the presence of the left in the party than getting a Labour government. We all want a Labour government. We want a broad church party. We want to build the enthusiasm before the election, but we need the commitment when we're in government, when times get rough. And that's when you draw upon all elements of the party. You can't let one faction dominate that way and alienate others.
I mean, it's interesting you're talking about being in government because you were elected in 97 when Blair came in. Blair tolerated you. I seem to remember Blair tolerated Jeremy Corbyn. I also seem to remember Blair had quite a good relationship with Dennis Skinner.
If you look at under Tony Blair, we didn't have mass expulsions like this or anything like that. We didn't have the withdrawal of the whip unless it was something very extreme. There was an atmosphere of tolerance, but actually respect as well.
And the former Shadow Chancellor has a warning for Keir Starmer.
There's a faction here that actually are so intolerant and dissent that they're removing people. It will weaken our party. And I also said to him, if you stumble, these are the people that will come for you.
I think that's such an interesting point about Blair. It's probably because Blair actually really believed in the agenda that he was putting forward and therefore felt no need to expel, because there actually was something at the heart of his programme, even though, I'm personally not a fan of it. Now, the latest high-profile figure who has fallen foul of Starmer's new regime is Neil Lawson. He's a former speechwriter for Gordon Brown and the director of the soft left group Compass. He's been put under investigation for a 2-year-old tweet praising a pact between the Lib Dems and the Greens. Lawson is a long-time advocate of a progressive alliance. Now, he also spoke to Newsnight.
I think it's worrying. It's certainly worrying when it reaches the kind of soft left and mainstream elements of the Labour Party. Clearly, a party has to have discipline. If people are acting, around the anti-Semitism issue, then those things have to be dealt with. But, I'm just a pluralist. I like working with other people. I like working with people across the whole of the Labour Party and people outside of the Labour Party to help, to build a better country. And if they come for me...
well, go on.
If they come for me, then I'm not quite sure who's safe. And you can't go into government in a way where you want to change the country if your MPs are scared, if your activists are scared. There should be a feeling of hope, of optimism and desire to build a different country, and everyone's at the moment is looking over their shoulder.
Now, Mick Lynch has also spoken out on the issue. He was asked by Robert Peston about McDonnell's comments.
John McDonnell, who's on this show from time to time, last night saying that Keir Starmer had allowed a right-wing faction to take over that's drunk with power.
Well, he has. It's Peter Mandelson, isn't it?
And is purging.
He's taken over the Labour Party.
But do you agree that the left is being purged?
The left is being purged, and we need a balance. We've got people in the centre. The people at the traditional right have got their place, and the people on the left should be able to put their ideas forward. Many of the ideas that John McDonnell put forward during the last couple of election campaigns have come to fruition, such as broadband being something that everybody in the country needs. People need digital access, that we can control the power of the utilities companies, and that our water companies are completely corrupt, as we found out in the last couple of days, and that public ownership itself is good in and of itself. Those ideas have come back. Keir Starmer needs to be putting some of those ideas forward in terms of housing, funding our NHS, and turning this country around so that people can believe in him, rather than triangulating around what he thinks Middle England thinks. He needs to deliver for working people. That's his job. And he needs to show that he's going to get on with it.
Now, Mike, Starmer's strategists are more than happy to have a public spat with the left. So why should they care if the likes of Mick Lynch and John McDonnell are speaking out against him?
I think they should care because Labour present themselves as a strategic party, that all they're doing is geared towards winning an election in about a year's time. But this is strategically not a beneficial approach to take for a number of reasons. I mean, the first thing is Labour historically has been a broad church, and it's something that Keir Starmer himself acknowledged in 2020. I mean, Keir Starmer literally campaigned on the idea that Labour was a broad church, and that's something he was proud of. He literally said this in 2020. So the idea that someone who said that and campaigned as the unity candidate in 2020 can now, essentially, following becoming the leader of the party, commit to purging the left and making that one of his central goals as a leader of the Labour Party is beyond baffling. And it says a lot about his integrity. It says a lot about his word and how much we can trust the man. We talk about Boris Johnson being a liar, but Keir Starmer has been found to have lied a number of times. I think for Keir Starmer it matters because strategically, we can point to the fact that in 2020 you said Labour's a broad church and you're proud of that. You're trying to purge an important part of the party for very stupid reasons. So I think for that reason, it makes no sense. I think this is something I always swear by myself. When you surround yourselves with people, only group of people who think like you're less likely to make really good decisions. I think sometimes it's important to have contrasting opinions. That deliberative process where you engage in a dynamic conversation with people that disagree with you ideologically can, birth some really good ideas. And I think that it says a lot about maybe the ideological commitment of Starmer, maybe his confidence in some of his ideas, but he feels that anyone who disagrees with him in any minor way must be expelled from the party forever. So I think that says a lot about Keir Starmer. And I think also he's alienating a wing of the party that are really important come election time. So come election time, lots of young left activists will be, the people knocking the doors for Labour. So alienating this entire wing of the party and a party that frame themselves as a strategic winning machine or they're going to win the election next year, it makes little sense. You're going to alienate these people who go out to knock on doors for you. You're going to alienate an entire wing of the party that have been so important for the party for a number of years. It makes very little sense. And also, losing the support of Mick Lynch is really important because Mick Lynch is popular. Mick Lynch is popular because he says it how it is, and people really enjoy hearing him say how it is and stand for working people. So if you lose the support of someone like Mick Lynch as well, one of the most popular trade unions in this country, if you're losing his support as the leader of a Labour Party, that's not a good place to be for Keir Starmer.